So I needed to do this subsequent video because I feel like a lot of you are gonna wake up this morning and be like, "What the hell was this woman talking about?" And so I came up here so diligently to clarify that. Last night I did graveyard shift for Uber, which everybody's typically their own boss, so there's not a specific requirement. There are just shifts that people take. So it just so happened that I fit into the graveyard shift because I was out there until almost 1 this morning. And so I at one point went to Tropical Smoothie off of Bonanza. For those of you who reside in Las Vegas and know the area. Now, that's excluding y'all that don't know and who don't live here. Y'all just don't know. But anyways, so I went to Tropical Smoothie. Upon turning on the corner where you gotta turn to get into the drive-through, two things. This vehicle abruptly cut me off as I was turning actively. Then I made a freaking turn to go all the way around because I don't like that 3-degree turn that you have to make. It's a very sharp turn, and we have a SUV that's fairly large, so it's kind of difficult to maneuver that. So I personally choose to go all the freaking way hell around. And as I was doing it, this car again for the second time abruptly cut me off. And I was like, something dark and demonic is happening with this person spiritually. I don't know what they're addicted to or, what their lifestyle is. And that ain't none of my business because it ain't not my place to judge nobody. That's God's job and his alone. Okay? But the thing of it is that they cut me off twice. And then when they got into the drive-through line, they got in the front of me. And I believe that they were trying to steal my customers' food. It was like a bag of food with I think one smoothie. I didn't catch the name of the smoothie, but they tried to attempt to steal it and cause me problems because it would have made me, as a whole, it would have made me look like shit. And then I would have had to answer to dispatch and countless other people who are on that side. And so I guess at one point the lady was like, I need the last three of the order number. And so these dumbass people, sorry, YouTube, TikTok, and whatever freaking platform else I'm going to upload on. But so they were asked, what are the last three of the order? And they could not relay that. So at that point, the lady made them get out of the line. I proceeded to go ahead. I picked up the food and the beverage for my client or customer, whatever. And no, we're not going nowhere fancy. And so at the end of everything, as I'm getting ready to leave, now keep in mind I had my 15-month infant, I had my obnoxious toddler with me, and my second youngest daughter, which they're kind of all the ages range, obviously, as you just heard. And so these people had the audacity of following my vehicle. Keep in mind, I had my family with me. See, I wasn't alone. And I think that was kind of one of the binding factors as to why they didn't pursue me. Because, and what they don't realize is that my husband is really passive. But make him angry, try to do some crazy crap with me and get me in trouble, and then it's going to be all hell on wheels. I promise you that. And so they had the audacity of following me for 3 miles. Not one, not two, not just to the corner light. 3 effing long miles. And at one point, I had to speed up to lose them. And thank God that this was a downtown call because I made a very quick left turn. And just like that, we lost them. And the thing of it is that I believe that they were really pissed off because they lost. They didn't get their way. They had dark demonic intentions to do this person wrong. And clearly this wonderful individual who I served last night, she was covered by the grace of God because these were some dark doers who were looking for some random crap to cause. And in this case, they lost. Light and positivity and love will always win over any evil, dark, and demonic intention. Let me say that again for you dummies in the back who don't hear me. Love and light and positivity will always win. Those who have dark, demonic, and evil intentions will never see the other side. So in my case, I got the food. Like I said, as I pulled out of the drive-through, I think that they were waiting to one side of the parking lot. And as we left, that's when they began to follow my family and I for 3 miles. So I'm like thinking to myself, I gotta act quickly so that obviously my family stays safe, which is what I did. I made a very quick left turn and I sped up a bit. I was like going almost 60 on a surface street. But Metro knows, the police department locally knows, they know me who I am, obviously. Number one, for the stuff that I do. And number two, they know that I don't drive crazy unless I absolutely have some type of imminent situation to where, number one of my kids is in dire need of medical care, or my husband, or B, there's an emergent situation that I gotta get the hell up out of there. And so they know that about me. And so they respect that. See, because traditionally, I always tried to be a law-abiding citizen. Obviously, if I'm in full support of the Second Amendment and Castle Doctrine, so naturally, it's just in my nature to honor the law. And so, well, obviously, and then that, and I used to work with law enforcement, being an interpreter myself, so therefore, naturally, it's just kind of due process. Anyways, you're like, well, what the hell does any of that got to do with anything? Nothing. It's just what was going on. So, because it was such an imminent situation, I didn't have time to go on my phone and be like, hey, phone and Uber, let me dial emergency. I didn't have that degree of time to react properly. So, I basically had to speed up. I was going quite fast, and thankfully, back when I was an interpreter with the police department, they properly trained all the interpreters of how to drive fast, efficiently, and defensively. So I believe that was a big factor on how we ended up being safe. These people, they were obviously scumbags. They obviously had nothing better to do with their time than other than to try to cause me to look bad and to give me problems, plus to steal my customers' food. And I just was not having it at all degrees. Yeah, so and the comment that I made this morning about you don't mess with other Uber drivers, that's exactly why, because there's a lot of us out there who we don't give a damn. We will do what is honorable regardless, period. And if you try two-stepping, you're going to get taught a lesson. And so that's just what it is. It was scary. It was a shitty situation, and it was the type of situation you never want to catch yourself in, which is why when I do graveyard shift, or if I go out late night and I gotta absolutely work and I just don't got no other way out of it, I will always bring my family. But usually I try to opt to have the kids relaxed at home, because they do have 2 older siblings, so they are of that age caliber to where they can be trusted, and they are highly responsible. They're not like the majority of most kids. And we're blessed for that. Really, we are, because they are really responsible, really, really, they have that kind of code of ethic for themselves as well. And so it just so happened that my baby was, frustrated. She just didn't know where or what she wanted. She just wanted to sleep it off. So she came with me, and almost immediately she just went to bed. It's crazy. But it's okay. Obviously I'm a trained driver, so, it definitely helps. And I know sometimes when I gotta go fast like that, it definitely can be scary, but it's like your life or a possible dangerous situation. And obviously you're gonna choose your well-being in your life. It's just logic. And so when I got to the drop-off location, which thank God we got there and I didn't end up having to call Metro, I'm like, hey fam, because I haven't been there in a couple of years, right? I used to work with the LVMPD back years ago. And so thank God it was to that point to where I didn't have to call them at all. I got to my customer, and this place was a very private, high-end apartment complex, and to get into it, you have to have a code to open the door alone. They buzz the people, then they let you in. And so I intuitively knew that it was going to be on the fourth floor, but there were so many turning points from within that place that it is incredibly and immensely easy to get lost in. And so I managed to find her apartment. I managed to deliver the food and everything on time. But then when I walked away, I walked in the wrong freaking direction. So I felt like a lost hamster in a cage, literally. And so at one point, she opened the door, and that's when I seen her. So I'm like, oh, great. So maybe me being lost like a dumb hamster actually served a purpose because I got the opportunity to talk with my customer. And so I'm like, yeah, there was this other Uber driver who was trying to steal your food, number one. And number two, they were trying to cause me problems. So I told her, go where it says file complaints and concerns and let them know because they were trying to give me problems and to try to steal her stuff. So I would think that legally for my purposes and my well-being and my reputation, and then for her because they were trying to steal her food. And thank God that these employees are required to ask for the last three numbers of the order because that ultimately is literally what saved her. Them following me and my family for 3 miles, I was concerned, but I wasn't scared. I'm like, man, I'm going to speed up and we're going to dip it and we're going to lose them. And that's exactly what happened. And so, that's what I meant by you don't just mess with other Uber drivers because you never know who you're going to be, encountering or dealing with. I have a very high code of ethic and efficacy, if you will. And I have certain standards for myself and for those of whom I'm serving. And so I let her know that. I was like, you know what? You really should voice this as a concern. And I was there already at the location. I was literally cut off by these people. I was waiting to get the order as a whole. And what these people did was not okay. And I think, as a delivery, company as a whole, I don't think the bosses and owners are aware that this goes on. Because typically, when something out of line like this happens, it happens to individuals who are in the middle of it. And then only after the fact do they hear, but they try to frame the driver. So now they gave a number. And if you can't relay that number, you ain't touching nothing. And so long story short, they followed us for 3 miles. And I dipped it. And I literally saved my family. And then on top of that, I think they were trying to intimidate me, which was kind of weak. I mean, if you're trying to scare me, it didn't work. You made me angry for sure, but it didn't work. And anybody who knows me knows that I got a temper on me. So once you get me past that threshold, you better turn the other way. For real. Because I can go from one to prison in less than a blink of an eye. And what side of me you want to see is strictly and solely up to you. I never opt for violence. I never opt to be chaotic or get in people's, stuff. Let it charge. I never opt to see that bad side of the situation. I always try to do the honorable thing. I always try to hold up that code of ethics. So if this person was trying to make me look bad, trying to steal my customer's food, it was just my moral obligation and my conviction to somehow convey that to her. And I believe that me somehow getting lost like a hamster in a cage, that played a very big role and factor as to how I was able to speak directly with her. I ended up telling her that they were trying to steal her food and they were trying to make me look bad. So she could go under complaints and concerns and just voice that to dispatch. Or I know that the customers have one set of dispatchers and we as drivers have another. So I let her know to let them know that they were trying to steal her stuff and they were trying to cause me problems. And that's pretty much it. But I just kind of wanted to jump up on here, y'all, and kind of give you guys the gist of things, because I feel like a lot of y'all were like, why is this woman saying this out of nowhere? Why? And it's not that I'm trying to be a BICTH or a jerk or whatever. No, not at all. I always, ever since I started working with these companies, I have a very, very high code of ethic for myself. But for you people out there who don't know, I used to work with law enforcement. So if you guys think being loud and trashy and obnoxious and maleficent is going to intimidate or scare me, it's not. I've seen you people at your worst. There's literally nothing you guys can do that will ever scare or intimidate me. Now, understand, the minute you try to hurt one of my family members, it's within my legal right to defend everybody in this property. So as long as you understand that, then we straight. But I don't know, y'all. It's like one of those things. Like, I went on this call about 3 weeks ago. And in this specific call, the house was pitch black. And I was delivering something, and I noticed that there was a gentleman in the backyard with a pit bull. And I was wondering, what the hell? I'm just delivering food, so what's the problem? Excuse me. And all of a sudden, Ezekiel, mind it. All of a sudden, I seen this guy trying to release the dog. And so I'm like, oh crap. I literally had a blink of an eye to respond. But I just, left and I let dispatch know. And that's just what it was. Because I'm not going to jeopardize my well-being and compromise my safety like that. And that's just what it is. So for all you people who like to be causing other drivers problems, for all you people who try to be petty and steal people's food while working for Uber, Uber ain't going to be your go-to place to steal people's food, because now they require that code to be given while on an order. And if you try to be petty enough to steal without that code, you make yourself look incredibly bad as a driver, and you also stand the chance to get arrested. So I'm wondering to myself now, why in the heck would you do that? Like, whatever driver is there that you're trying to screw over in that moment, we always know. We see you. We can clearly identify you. So if you need to be arrested, you're going to get taken in. And breaking the law is breaking the law, and stealing people's property and food is still a law. So please use your common sense. Uber is not going to be your go-to steal place, okay? There, I said it. It will not be your go-to, I can steal other people's food place, okay? That's just stupid. It shows me two things. You're only self-consumed, and you're only worried about you. And that is not a good combination. And I've seen this a lot, you guys. Believe it or not, while I've been in this industry, I've seen a handful of dummies who they will use the company name and they will utilize other drivers to slander them and their reputation while pretending to work. They're not working, they're stealing people's food. And that is not okay at all. You absolutely can be arrested because it is still considered stealing, and stealing is a felony charge, you big old dum-dums. So whoever put it in their head, hey, I'm just going to pop in a drive-thru and I'm going to pretend like I'm X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to pretend like I'm here for an order, and all in the meanwhile, I don't got the code. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. You make yourself look stupid. As an Uber employee, you're probably going to get fired now. Don't be trying to steal people's food like that. Because let me tell you, I may work for Uber, but I've also worked for the cops, and I will be the first one to stop you. Believe that.